there a shop for that? Athletics? Go. Go. You should put the tarp thing down now so it's out here because if it doesn't make it there.
No, because I need to get down on that floor sometimes.
Okay.
So on Wednesday, Brooks said he didn't have it go into that little box. They broke one of our things. Now we only have 3.
That's our oldest one.
What?
That's our oldest one. We've had for the longest time, I think.
just watch TV, calm,
Yeah.
everything normal. Right now with us just like hovering over him quiet like this is not helping. Or put some music or something.
Yeah. Oy, oy, oy. That's fun. Ouch.
And Cece's just still just down there.
So, Blanche, how are we enjoying our celibacy?
Oh, just let me get a popsicle. I'll be right with you. Blanche, I am worried. That's all you've been living on for 2 weeks. But if I don't eat the popsicle, how am I going to get to the stick?
I'm glad you found a hobby, but I don't think Blanche Devereaux is going to be happy making things out of popsicle
Let me
sticks
keep us
instead of
working a while.
making love.
Oh, I don't care about that anymore.
Fruits on
I
the
don't care
floor.
about anything anymore. Life has no
For the
meaning.
first few days of our
So what's the popcorn?
Yeah. Getting married. Married's good work today.
I don't know what to expect of myself with this thing in me. I just keep remembering how you're not supposed to overload electrical outlets. Maybe you just shouldn't make love when you're wet. It was not an easy decision, but it's best that I retire from the sexual arena undefeated. Time I hung up my gloves.
Gloves? Boy, you do practice safe sex.
Sex is only good when your heart is in it. And that's the one organ I can't count on.
Oh, now, come on, Blanche, you don't know that. But listen, if that's the way you feel, maybe you should tell Simon so that he'll know where he stands.
For the last 2 weeks, he's been standing with his legs crossed. I will. I'll tell him tonight.
I can't believe it. Blanche has gone without for 2 weeks. I mean, that's like Raymond Burr saying no gravy.
What do you think's the matter with her? Maybe when she had that out-of-body experience, she didn't get back in all the way. It's still science with kids. I want to thank you for a lovely evening.
I didn't think you noticed. You hardly said a word all evening. Where are the other girls?
Oh, they all went out to a movie. Simon, that's why I wanted to come back here. I wanted us to be alone.
Ooh, baby.
Here. I don't really know how to say this. I never thought I'd ever be saying this in my wildest dreams. And you know just how wild they can get. What I'm trying to tell you, Simon, the last time we made love was the last time. Guess it's just lucky that we took those snapshots.
What are you talking about?
I am giving up the physical side of my life. After what I've been through, I cannot trust myself to climb the heights of passion anymore because I can't be sure of ever getting back again.
I know you have to be concerned about the pacemaker.
Wouldn't you be?
Blanche, everyone I know over 50, over 40, has a pacemaker. They all lead perfectly normal lives. In every way, Blanche.
But this is in me. Oh, Simon, for the first time in my life, I'm just scared of intimacy.
Maybe this is my fault. Maybe I've been pushing you.
It's not you.
Blanche, you're the same person that you always were. You have to believe that.
Oh, I want to, Simon. And I have tried. But I can't.
Darling, this is not the time for your vivid imagination to give out on us.
Goodbye, Simon.
Well, if you're going to kiss me off, I want my kiss. instance, I'll take that as a compliment.
I'm a little hot, but it's nothing I can't handle.
What did you expect to happen?
I don't know. I just kept seeing those cartoon characters with the smoke coming out of their ears.
I don't see anything.
Listen, there's a great big old television set back in my bedroom. What do you say we go in there and turn it off? As long as you understand I can't make any promises.
If you'll be brave, I'll be brave.
Ma, I said I was sorry. The least you can do when we're going to see a movie is say it's a foreign film.
What is the big deal?
I had to stand in front of the screen just to read the subtitles, and all that running back and forth to complete a sentence almost killed me. Wasn't that Simon's car parked out front?
Are you sure?
Blanche?
She's not in here.
Well, maybe she had trouble with her pacemaker, and since we weren't here, she called him.
Oh, my God.
Over there.
It burns a little bit of that water, but that moving water is so delightful to know.
Yeah.
Both Brooksy and Winston discovered the litter box and let them know that was off limits. But since it smells yeah, Cece feels good today. Because it's warmer.
I'm sure it smells like that place.
Yeah. You should go outside while it's so warm. Cece, you want to go outside? You want outside? Outside. Yeah, Cece will go out. Go outside, Cece.
Keep watching this.
Is my glasses on the table and there they are?
I don't see them.
We're good. I mean,
Okay.
my ideal world would say, fry this at home.
Oh, fry this at home. Don't forget to fry this at home. Yeah, right. Just put it on the, write it on the screen or something.
Chip off some coconut oil.
Hi everyone, I'm Claire Saffitz. I'm here in the NYC
Well, not the second. Eventually.
Cooking Studio for another episode of Try This at Home. And today's recipe is a particularly fun one, and there's no oven required. Cannoli, that classic Sicilian pastry. This recipe is just so much fun and so delicious. The best cannoli you can get is when you're going to make it home. Let's talk about what makes a cannoli a good cannoli. Definitely it is a tender, very crisp all the way through shell, so it should have this kind of shattering, tender consistency. And then you want this thick, rich but not too rich ricotta filling. It's really not overly complicated. The dough is super straightforward. The major challenge for people making cannoli at home is two things. One is deep frying, so we're definitely going to talk about that process, how to make it less scary. And two is finding the molds. So that's a hard to find. You have to order that. So that's a necessary thing. But beyond that, the rest of the recipe is really straightforward. It requires no special equipment other than the molds. So there's two components for making cannoli. One is the dough, and one is the filling. I'm going to start by making the dough. The most important thing, I think, when you're making a cannoli shell is achieving those big, blistery air pockets in the shell. That's what's going to make it super light and crisp. And you don't want something that's hard and that you have to kind of crunch down with your teeth that's cookie-like. You want something light and airy and bubbly. So the key to that is the moisture content of the dough. There were things that I read that said, oh, the bubbles are the result of the alcohol in the wine because there's wine in the recipe, or that it's about working in like air as you're kneading it. It's like I didn't really find any of that to be true. It's just about putting a kind of certain amount of moisture in the dough so that when it goes into the fryer, the moisture turns to steam and you get these little like bubbles. So all-purpose flour. It's going to go into my bowl. I'm going to add a little bit of sugar. The sugar doesn't really make the dough sweet, but it does help give it a nice browning effect. Kosher salt. The only spice that I'm adding is cinnamon, which I think is a great complement to the ricotta filling. Cannoli dough needs to do two things. It needs to be tender, so when you fry it, you get that like really crisp texture. But it also needs to have a certain amount of like stretchability or extensibility, that ability to kind of roll out into a really, really thin layer. You get the extensibility by working it, developing a little bit of gluten, making some structure in the dough, and then the tenderness comes from the presence of fat in the dough. So the fat of choice for cannoli is lard. So I have 1 ounce of lard here. You can find it in like the pork section of like a lot of big grocery stores. You could use refined coconut oil, but lard is going to give you really good flavor and really good tenderness. This is chilled, by the way. It's just easier to work with when it's cold. So now you want to do this called cutting in the fat. I don't have, this is called a pastry cutter. I don't have this at home. So I was using 2 butter knives. So what you want to do is basically work this into small pieces. And if you don't have a pastry cutter, you can basically use 2 knives where you do this kind of slicing motion, where you cut it in like this, kind of dragging the 2 knives across each other. Or if you have a pastry blender, it just goes a lot faster. That's this tool, and you just work it in like this. You want to work it in until the fat is about the size of like a lentil. And what happens is the fat starts to coat the flour, and it gets in the way of like these gluten strands forming, so it does help you to maintain a tender dough, even though you're going to be rolling it out really thin. So now I'm going to beat 1 egg. And because I'm making such a small quantity, I don't need to add the whole thing. So I'm going to add some of it to the dough, and I'm going to reserve the rest for forming the shells, because it's the egg that's going to like glue the dough together so that it can form this tube shape. Beat it with a fork. Okay, so now I'm going to make a little bit of a well, like work the flour up the sides, leaving a little bit of like a depression in the center. And I'm going to add 1 tablespoon of my egg. And I'm going to add a 1/4 cup of white wine. So I'm using white wine. You'll see recipes that call for red wine. Marsala is common. I like white wine because it doesn't alter the color of the dough. I'm using a dry white wine for something that's not going to add a lot of sweetness. I like to just use a fork in the beginning because if I were to stick my hands in there, they're going to get coated in liquid, and then everything's going to stick to them. So now I'm going to work this mixture inside the bowl to try to bring it together into a dough. It smells really good. Harris and I like have a hard time finishing a bottle of wine ourselves, and like sometimes we don't have any wine open, so we keep a box of wine that comes in that like foil bag where there's no oxygen and like the little spigot, and so it's just really useful. So it's like a 1/4 cup of wine. I don't want to open a bottle, so I'm going to turn everything out onto my work surface. I still have a couple little dry bits, so I just want to work it and incorporate any of these dry bits. And it might seem a little dry in the beginning, but as soon as you start to work it, it'll really soften up quite a bit. Even doubling it, it's still a very manageable amount of dough. I don't need to work it to like full gluten development. I don't actually want to do that. I just want to work it so that it's homogeneous and like a little bit elastic. So it just takes a couple minutes. If the dough is a little bit sticky, I'm just going to add a little bit of extra flour. Those little bits of lard, those are getting worked into the dough, and it almost acts, it's like a greasing agent. Like it makes so that the dough doesn't stick. It's not perfectly smooth, it's like a little bit mottled, but you don't need to work it beyond that. Now what we want to do is let it rest, because we just worked the dough. If we were to roll this out directly, it's going to spring back. If you're going to make these like same day, you could leave it out if you wanted to, but if you're going to rest it for more than a couple hours, definitely you want to keep it in the fridge. Okay, so in the fridge. Yep. I decided to go a pretty like traditional and also simple route for the filling, where it's basically just ricotta. Traditionally in Sicily, it's sheep's milk ricotta, which is like a little bit funkier, has sort of a more complex flavor. If you can find it, that's amazing. You should definitely use it. What will probably be easier to find for you is just a very high quality cow milk ricotta, so full fat also, whole milk ricotta. So you need 16 ounces, and what we want to do is drain it, try to get rid of some of that water, because what happens is if you leave that water in there, it thins out the filling, and then when you add the sugar, it gets really loose. Stirring it is going to help it to release some of that water, and I'm going to scrape it into a mesh sieve set over a bowl. So we want it to release all that water. I'm going to cover it with some plastic and put it in the fridge, and then after about 24 hours, we'll check it. I have one that was set up last night, and depending on the brand, it will have released anywhere from like 1 to several tablespoons of liquid. See, it's already starting to drain a bit. So I'll cover this. This will go into the fridge. This is that same ricotta, but this was left overnight in the fridge here to drain. So you can see that the ricotta has released, this is like several tablespoons. I would guess this is 2 to 3 tablespoons of water. So that's significant. You don't want that in the filling, so I'm going to get rid of that. I went back and forth a lot in kind of how I wanted to assemble the filling. Like, did I want to use a food processor? Did I not want to use a food processor? Did I want to whip it? Did I want to put it in a stand mixer? And I just decided that the version I liked best was just the one where all they did was press it through the sieve into the bowl and then stirred through the flavoring. I'm just taking a flexible spatula and kind of scraping the ricotta across the bottom of the sieve. And this is going to help to smooth it out. Depending on the quality of your ricotta, if you just stirred it really vigorously, you could achieve a similar texture, but it's sort of uncertain, like how big are the curds going to be. So I think it's just a safer bet to press it through the sieve. So make sure you get every last bit in there. So again, I like this technique because I think it really maintains that fluffy texture that you want in the ricotta, but also makes it like pretty luxurious and smooth. So now I'm going to add my flavorings. For sweetness, I'm adding some confectioner sugar, and this is, I would say, a very lightly sweet filling. It is definitely not cloying in any way. And then a little extra sweetness from honey, so 2 teaspoons vanilla extract, a pinch of kosher salt, just to help bring the flavor out of everything, a half teaspoon of freshly grated lemon zest, and then a half teaspoon of orange. And then now that I have the lemon zested, I'm going to cut a wedge, so I'm also going to add a teaspoon of lemon juice. The sheep's milk ricotta that's traditional is like a little bit tangier than the cow milk, so just to give it a little bit of tang. You don't want to stir it excessively because the sugar will start to thin out the consistency of the ricotta. Now I'm just going to switch to the whisk and just give everything a nice, kind of thorough, but not prolonged, like stir. I'm going to go ahead and transfer it to my pastry bag just so it's ready to go for the filling, and then I'll keep it in the fridge while we make the shells. This is not like a precisely piped filling, so you could use a Ziploc bag, and it's not so thick that you're going to have a hard time. So Ziploc bag is like totally fine. Okay, so I'm just going to let everything kind of fall to the bottom of the bag, kind of work it down. I don't need to cut it opening yet, and then I'm just going to twist the end of the bag. This can go into the fridge and keep it cold until we're ready to fill. This is kind of the exciting part. We are ready to start forming our cannoli shells. So I have my cannoli molds. These are, I think, like 5.5 or 6 inch long stainless steel, like hollow metal tubes. These are great. This is like easy online purchase. I have 8 of those. This is a 5.5 inch cutter. This was the largest cutter in the set of round cutters that I have, where it's like all little concentric circles. If you don't have a cutter this large, what you can use is like a deli lid and a wheel cutter and just sort of cut around, like trace the circle basically. So here we go. I'm going to start by just dividing this dough in half. Then I just want to form each half sort of roughly into a sphere. Just roll it between your hands if you want to. And then I'm going to keep one covered on the work surface while I roll out the other. I'm going to use a little bit of flour. A little bit of flour is fine. And I want to roll this out into, it doesn't have to be an exact shape, but kind of a rough round that's 1/8 of an inch thick. You can see that I'm lifting it up frequently and moving it around. And that's just because if the dough wants to spring back, I want it to hold its shape. So let it spring back, but let's just spring back a little bit. The goal here is to roll it out in a size where I can cut about 3 circles. So when I'm cutting these out, I want to put it straight down with the cutter and then twist. That's going to help to release that circle. I'm going to do one more round of cutting with scraps, so I don't want to waste that. So I have now my 3 circles. I'm going to set these off to the side, covered on the work surface, and I'm going to repeat that same process with the second half of dough.
Doing extra effort to get the packages out on time.
So now I have another ball of scraps, and this one I want to roll out one more time, and I'm going to cut 2 more circles. And because we've already rolled this out, the dough has been worked a little bit. You can just see as I press it that it's going to kind of want to spring back. So you are going to have to use a little bit more pressure.
He's in that office just laying down. He's pretty calm right now. Drinking water.
So now I have my 8 circles. And now I want to let these rest for about 10 minutes. I want that glue to relax. I want the dough to kind of chill out, because I'm going to come back and roll each one individually a second time and then form it around the bowl. And this is because I want the dough to be even thinner than it is now. Besides kind of the moisture content of the dough, another key to achieving that like bubbly, blistery texture is you need the dough to be really, really thin. We're going to go back in with each one, make them thinner, and fold them around in a filling mold. So it's about 10 minutes, we'll be back. So I'm going to take one of the circles, and I'm actually going to take from that first piece that I rolled out, it's the most relaxed, keep the rest covered, using a little bit of flour again. And I want to lengthen this circle in 2 directions, kind of opposite directions. I'm going to go top to bottom and then left to right. I want a thickness of about 1 to 2 millimeters even. You can either move the rolling pin and roll side to side, or move the dough. And kind of starting from the middle, I'm going up, and back to the middle, and down again. In the rhombus-like shape, I'm not sure that it's really a rhombus, but it's not really a circle anymore. It's something that has sort of a dimension to it, sort of some sides. It's so amoeba-like. It's a little irregular. It's really thin. This looks good. Feels good. I'm just going to pull it off the surface one more time, just to make sure it's not sticking. I have the thickness that I want, and I'm going to form it around my cannoli mold. I'm going to take one of my molds. I'm going to lay it across the longest part of the dough. Then I'm going to take one side and bring it up to the top of the mold. It's just kind of resting right there. Then with my leftover beaten egg, I'm just going to take the tiniest dab. I'm just using my finger. I'm going to smear that just across the dough. Then I'm going to take that other side of the dough, bring it up and overlap it just on the egg-covered part of the dough, and press gently to adhere, and we've now formed it. So this might look a little crazy because I have not wrapped the dough tightly around the mold at all. That's what you want, because when you go to fry it, it's going to shrink up quite a bit. It's going to kind of form around the mold. I'm going to kind of set this off to the side. So pick it up by the ends of the mold, lay it down gently, and now I'm going to repeat that process with the remaining circles of dough. You can just leave the formed pieces around the mold uncovered as you work. These are all set. The next thing I'm going to do is heat my oil. I didn't heat my oil in advance because actually it's a good thing to let these kind of hang out a little bit at room temp uncovered. By leaving them out of room temp, the outer layer is going to dehydrate slightly, which is also going to help us with that bubble formation. Okay, so for frying our cannoli shells, I have a large Dutch oven here. I have a Candier or D-fat thermometer clipped to the side. I'm using a neutral oil for frying these. This is peanut. I like using peanut for frying. Traditionally, you'll find that these are fried in lard, but it just feels like a lot of lard for you to get your hands on. But what you could do is actually mix your fat. So if you have some neutral oil for frying, you could also just throw in your extra lard. You could add that to the pot as well. So whatever you're deep frying at home, it's a good idea not to fill your vessel more than halfway. Right, so I think I'm going to add all of these. And actually, a good tip is hold on to the containers that your oil came in, because once the fry oil is set and you're ready to get rid of it, you can pour it back into those containers using a funnel, and then you can either recycle it. Sometimes there'll be a cooking oil recycling in your area, or sometimes at farmers markets, or you can just toss it in your garbage, but not down the drain. Also down the drain. That's very bad for your pipes. These have been covered the whole time. These have to be uncovered. Pretend like these have been uncovered. We covered them to save lunch. I wanted them to dry out too much, but if you're just going straight into frying, what you should do is leave them uncovered. Okay, so I'm going to start by heating this over medium-high, and once it hits about 325, I'm going to turn it down to medium. You don't really want to blast the heat because you can very easily kind of surpass the temperature you're going for, and what we want is 350. It is hot enough to initiate that like puffing of the liquid and giving you those blisters, but not so hot that the shells brown before they're cooked all the way through. And then I have here, it's like a good idea whenever you're deep frying to like do your mise en place, get everything ready to go and organized. I have a pair of tongs, and then I have a rimmed baking sheet here with a couple layers of paper towel, and that is for transferring the shells as they finish cooking. Okay, so I'm at 340, so I'm almost there. And keep in mind that whenever you add anything to the oil, especially if it's cold, but even if it's room temp, you are then going to cause the temperature to drop. So keep an eye on your heat and on your temperature, and I'm sort of always moderating the heat a little bit when I'm frying. So you'll have to turn it up and then back down, but just sort of keep an eye. If you're in the 350 range, you're good. Okay, so I'm just about there. This is how I recommend you add your cannoli to the oil. Grasp the molds by the sides, lower it down into the oil, and you're going to actually hold it here. You're literally going to suspend it in the oil. And I'm going to do this for about 20 seconds until the dough has a chance to puff up and kind of form around that metal tube. So you can see it's bubbling, and then once it starts to really puff up, then I can let it go. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat that, and you'll have to fry in batches because you probably won't be using a vessel large enough to get all 8 in there. So you'll most likely be frying in batches of 4, 2 batches of 4. And then you're going to fry these until each one is kind of nice golden brown. And another sign besides color that they're done frying is that you won't have as much bubbling because basically all of that moisture has evaporated and like cooked off. So I can let that one go. This one has started to slide off the mold. That's normal. That's okay if that happens. Because you're kind of holding it and suspending it in the oil for the first, 20 seconds or so of frying, that is a good chance for it to already maintain that kind of hollowed out shape. So it's okay if the mold then slips out. You don't need it. You can just take it out of the oil. If you think that this process looks so fun and you really want to try it, but you don't want to get cannoli molds, that's fine. You know what you can do is you can basically follow the instructions, do everything that I did, but instead of forming them around molds, just cut them into like tortilla chip size triangles or squares or whatever, and fry them. You'll get the same texture of the dough, and you can really just make like a cannoli dip. So put them in a bowl, fry them kind of as chips, and serve them that way. It'll be so much fun. Okay, so these are looking so good. And you will have to keep turning them because they puff up so much, they kind of bob out of the oil. So keep them moving just so that they color evenly in the oil. So if any of the tubes fall out, you can go ahead and just take them out, set them off to the side. All right, so this is the very first one. This guy's ready. So I'm going to take it out, just set it on my paper towel. You can see how blistered that one is. It looks so good. So my oil is, I'm like at 345. It's looking good. I can turn it up a tiny bit, but you just want to sort of hover it in that like 350 range. Waiting for the bubbling to really subside is a good indication that you're going to have a super crisp texture in the shell because all of the water has been cooked off. So that's just really what you're looking for. All right, I'm going to take this guy out. It looks so many little blisters. It looks so good. One of the things about frying is that because it uses so much oil, I like to reuse the oil as much as I can. If you are going to reuse your fry oil, let the oil cool completely in the vessel. It's really a bad idea to try to transfer hot oil to anything. And if you're going to just get rid of it, then you can just use a funnel to pour it back into the vessels that you saved, and then just toss it, or recycle it. Recycling it is great. And now I'm going to add the second batch of 4. Okay, so I'm going to let these fully cool. They came out of the oil super hot. So we want to let them cool before we fill them because I don't want to loosen up and warm up that filling. But I'm going to grab my pastry bag from the fridge, snip a little opening, and then we'll fill them. And I'm also going to grab some fun toppings to put on the ends. So excited. I have all of my toppings, my filling, my shells, and a platter for serving. It has so many little blisters. It's also so incredibly lightweight for its size. So it's just so airy. I think it's beautiful, even golden brown color. got my mini chocolate chips, kind of a classic topping for cannoli, ditto chopped pistachios, and then I love this stuff. This is like candied orange peel. So, also a great topping. So I'm going to snip about a 1-inch opening. I'm going to take one of the cannoli shells, and I'm going to kind of fill from the middle out on both sides. You could fry the shells even the day before. Make sure you let them fully cool and store them in an airtight container. It's just that you want to fill them at the last minute. So now for topping, I just really do like the look of the candy peel, especially with those citrus flavors in the filling. I love the idea of just like draping a piece on either side. If you're doing chocolate chips, just like that. Looks so good. Do some pistachio.
Yeah, we went to Little Italy in New York, and I was first thing I wanted to do was a bunch of places.
I think I'm going to go with
This
plain,
little big,
just so I can really taste the filling and kind of experience the texture of the shell. A little bit like hint of cinnamon from the filling. It really does kind of give you like delicious cookie kind of texture. I just love that contrast between like ultra crisp, really like toasty shell and this delicious like creamy citrusy filling. Sometimes I distinguish between recipes that are fun to make and recipes that are fun to eat, and I feel like this is both. The dough is so easy, no food processor, no stand mixer, no need to turn on the oven.
Oh,
So I
I
think
did,
it's a really fun
like that
recipe for the holidays. It's kind of celebratory, and you can kind of customize it, set up a little cannoli bar if you want to.
Because it's
Thank you as always.
Thank God you didn't hear about that though.
rest of the, it's probably
This
whatever
recipe,
it's from.
everything else we make on the channel, and thousands more recipes at NYT Cooking.
Have you tried to get that little thing off the front that you found? Because I guarantee you wax and put that off.
You can't, it's
He goes to the bedroom, but I don't want him on the bed.
so let's go there.
Because then it keeps it out.
Yeah. Okay, let's show you this.
No secrets in this house, Jim.
Excuse me.
Whisper a secret. Oh, baby. Oh. Oh, poor baby.
Okay, Brett wants you to see this drag queen, because this drag queen is going to be in the,
This one? Particular one?
yes, this drag queen is.
We're gonna meet her tomorrow.
In the show.
We get to meet him afterward. I'm not sure what that exactly entails, but that's what it says.
I mean, great. God, he hasn't posted anything in 2 years.
Yeah. Mr. Symon, are you going under there? I don't want you to go under there. Why don't you go back the other way? Go back the other way, okay? Oh, see, you can get all up in that tree.
Hello, my darling couple of house. You know, years ago,
So I'm watching like a hog right now because he's got to pee.
I know.
And I can't get him to go. Very wobbly.
hello, my darling. See the back of that trunk, my darlings? There is a bird. 3 days.
I wonder if I
That
should give
bird
him
has been
a half a dose of
looking at
that
itself
drug
in the back
that
of the
was
trunk. It's actually
We just had some, so.
and then he pokes at his reflection. He's completely obsessed. It's all day. Can you hear it clicking? The poor person that owns that truck parked it for 3 days here, which is illegal, so maybe he deserves it. Let's see if we can get a little closer. Look at him.
Just don't let him look at this.
Oh, there he goes. And then you can see. Oh, he's so cute. But look at the mess he's made on the back of his truck.
Oh, give him something
All
good.
of that.
Like,
3 years ago.
Hi, I'm Coco Peru, and this Christmas I'm wishing for a big box of Lady Bunny holiday holiday edition adult diapers. Unlike her daily diapers, these holiday pooper scoopers offer extra room for when that big holiday meal slides out of you like Santa down a chimney.
Oh no.
Also, when these diapers are activated, one of 3 scents is released. Wintry pine forest, white snowflake trumper, and minty Candace cane. You'll be happy to know that these diapers come in a festive red and green, the colors of Christmas, or Heclena's genitals before another round of antibiotics. And for our Jewish friends, the diapers come in a beautiful blue, the traditional color of Hanukkah, or Jackie Beat's face after her recent and much-needed surgeries. Let's hope in the new year, Jackie doesn't stop there. Speaking of sluts, my friend Sherry Vine loves her holiday diapers. In fact, she told me that she can suck more pop now without taking bathroom breaks, which of course means more cash in her purse. Well, more security. And that's not all. Each diaper comes with a prepaid envelope addressed to Bunny herself, so you'll know that you're giving Bunny exactly what she's wishing for. And listen, I'm not saying Bunny is scantling, but what we call a dirty diaper, she calls a hot pocket.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, Blitzen, I can't wait to get my big box of diapers, because I know they'll put the ho back in. Holy shit, that came out of me. And if you're not ready for diapers, perhaps I can interest you in a Cocoa Peru Panettone ornament. Available at my store at my website, cocoperu.com. Again, that's cocoperu.com. And for my Jewish friends, that's cocoperu.com.
Now, the first time we ever saw Cocoa Peru,
And in the
she
spirit
was
of
in
the
Trick,
holiday
that movie.
season,
That's
let
where
us
Spelling
not
was in,
forget,
from 1998.
Bianca Del Rio is a cunt.
97? 98?
Happy holidays!
She's just something kind of
My
funny.
girl
Kind of
Nicole,
fun.
it's your girlfriend, Coco Peru. And listen, I want to thank
Yeah,
everybody
you see that bird?
who has ordered a cameo from me, who has ordered the private phone calls from me, and who ordered some of my merch. Thank you so much for your support and keeping me afloat during this time. I really, really appreciate it. And I wanted to explain to you why I am not doing a Casa Coco this month. There's 2 reasons. Look, that's 4. But there's 2 reasons. And one of them is because I have been so overwhelmed with this election, and I feel like people are very distracted, as they should be. And so I just couldn't wrap my head around doing a show while all this is going on. And the second reason was because you know that I had the surgery on my shoulder, and it's just been a lot of recovery, and I started working out. But I had been having some problems with my hands, which I thought might be arthritis, but it was just diagnosed as carpal tunnel syndrome. Just what she needed. And the pain in my fingers has been so intense, and I know people who have had carpal tunnel. I just never realized how painful it is. So right now I've been given some shots, and they're hoping that works. But I tell you, it's still killing me. And I've been wearing braces on my hands, which I'm not wearing right now. And if that doesn't work, then I'm going to need surgery. But I'm just so determined that this is going to work. Anyway, so those are the 2 reasons I haven't done a Casa Coco this month. And I was really looking forward to it because I wanted to do something spooky, and I wanted to talk about UFOs. And I wanted to share even some of my experiences. Whether or not you believe it, I don't care. I used to care. Now I'm starting to not care who believes it or not. Anyway, so hopefully in November, I'll be back and better, hopefully, and be able to present a Casa Coco in the month of November. All right? But in the meantime, as you know, I have moments where I need to express inner parts of myself. That was my ice machine once again dropping ice. That bothers me. I did the Victor Victoria, the Leslie Ann Warren song, and this was another moment from Victor Victoria that I absolutely adored. So, since I'm not presenting a Casa Coco show this month, I thought I would lip sync a song, and I probably will lip sync this terrible, but who cares? All right, my darlings, I love you, and thank you so much again for your support. And for those people, again, cameos, phone calls, and my merch, I really appreciate it. Okay, so here we go. Now's the play button. I'm so blind without my glasses, I tell you. All right, here we go.
Brooks was in there in the office sticking his paw into the bowl of water I took to Symon. He likes it splashed water on him.
There was once a shady dame from Seville. Used to wander round the town, brisk and kill, and men, if they dared, stood and stared when she passed their way. The lady took them out, there no doubt a big shout. Olé, Seville isn't that much to shout about, but when she was out, pretty swift-footed, dressed like a bat, or a pendulum thread, she could stampede the meadows at heel. One day came a world-famous matador, rat-tat-tat at her door, bearing her words. If he dislikes her, it's turning her siesta. It's best to say no, he knows. The rest of the tale's not a pretty one. Pity one isn't for sale. Only to hear and tell. Did they find outline on her sill? No one knows what
Well, it's going to be nothing like this tomorrow. It's going to be entertaining to the house. Anyway. That's really about it, Tom. I showed Golden Girls Drag. Yeah, that's them right there. That was a year ago.
There is honey but rose in time for distractions at the moment. We are busy running a social media empire.
But Coco Peru is playing the PR
Rose
part.
founded Quinion, a sex app for seniors.
Okay, I'm gonna spoil it. Okay, well, I'm gonna spoil it.
I'm not watching this photo.
Well, I wanted to see Coco Peru